Innovators, leaders, headliner. Join us as we meet the people behind the weather headline. Ken Graham has devoted nearly 3 decades to serving the public, from intern to leading the National Hurricane Center. You may recognize Ken from his hours of outreach on WeatherNation, but now he's turning the page into his new role as Director of the National Weather Service. We sat down with Ken to hear his vision for the future. Thank you for taking time with us to talk about some of the changes that you've been facing and some things that we're going to be looking forward to in the future. So, Ken, you've come from being in the National Hurricane Center, and now you're at the National Weather Service, running the National Weather Service. What kind of differences are you feeling in your life right now?
Well, I mean, 4 years at the National Hurricane Center and then getting this job, I think it's still sinking in. I'm still digesting that I'm the Director of the National Weather Service. I think it's still soaking in, to be honest with you. So it's more than hurricanes now, right? Now it's everything to do with weather across the country. So I think it's still hitting me, honestly.
So how do you expand that? I mean, one thing for hurricanes and tropical weather anywhere, but now you are responsible for the entire country. Yeah. I mean, what is that like?
It's incredible. I mean, 28 years in the Weather Service. So, I mean, I started off as an intern and a journey forecaster, so climbed my way up to director. So it's an honor, it's humbling. Honestly, the first word that comes to my mind every single time is humbling, honestly. I'm excited, but me? What happened here type of thing, you know?
Well, that's never happened before. I mean, going from an intern to later on in your career to running to being the Director of the National Weather Service, never happened.
I can still show up at an office. So be ready, whoever's watching at an office, I can show up and issue that forecast, I can still launch a weather balloon, I can still do the operations, and I think that's what makes it so special to me.
In this particular part in your career, how then does that experience of the past help you with this new position that you have?
The biggest reason? I get it. You know, you think about that, you're on the front lines, you're responsible for putting out that warning. A tornado warning, to pull the trigger on a warning or not, flash flood warning, whatever the warning is. I get it, right? I've been there sitting on that desk issuing those warnings before in that forecast, working mid shifts for many, many years as well. I get it. And I think that goes into this new job too. So you think about where we're going as a weather service, decisions that have to be made. I get it. And if you think about it, what's the number one priority for me? It's our people, because they're passionate. Every meteorologist, everybody wants to do this since they were pretty young. So if I can take care of the people, they're going to take care of that mission.
So now that you're into your job, granted, you haven't been there all that long, but what are some of the things that you would like to work on, or I don't want to say change, but improve in this new job?
It's been interesting because when I got the job, I had 3 priorities. And then now that I'm a little over a month into it, the priorities haven't changed. It's our people, it's our infrastructure, and our future. Those are my 3 priorities. It's so simple. You know, taking care of the people. Shift work's tough. So how can we do things to help improve that shift work, especially post-pandemic, where you could really do things differently through technology. So it's our people. The other is the infrastructure, because as we go into the future, you got to have a strong infrastructure, and it ages. So computer systems, you look at offices, facilities, how do we keep that infrastructure up? And next is our future. Where are we going? And that's exciting to me. You think about, you look at warnings and how could those be improved? You look at probabilistic information. How can we do that differently? How do we put science behind the worst case scenario? There's ways to do that. So really looking at going into the future associated with all these new things that we can do.
Well, you mentioned improvements in the watches and the warnings. You know, and over the years, the warnings have gotten smaller. And which I think is an indication that we've gotten better at being able to forecast those things. So how can we improve that going forward? What are you looking forward to improving those, which is actually what's impacting all of the people of America?
It is, and you think about how much further can we go out in time? And you think about when I got the Hurricane Center job, one of my goals was to get the forecast out to 7 days. I didn't make it to that because what happened is there's such an error. How do you show a 200, 300, 400 mile error in a hurricane track? I mean, that's very difficult to understand. It's difficult to even portray. It's the same thing with a warning. You look at a tornado warning. How far can we go out? Could we go out further? Can we use probabilities to say it's ramping up? This is one of those days that anything that develops is going to spin. We have that information. Can we start sharing that we think this is going to become a tornadic storm with time? How do you do that and not keep somebody basically on the hook for hours? You don't want that. There's ways to do that. We got to look at it. And social science has to play a huge part in how we do this.
In fact, this happens all the time. When a storm comes, they say, is it going to be like Harvey? Is it going to be like Sandy? Is it going to be like, and my response is the same. It's like, it's going to be its own thing, and it's going to have its own risks.
Little wiggles matter. I've said that so many times because you can't compare storms. You can't compare 2 hurricanes. You can't compare 2 tornadoes, 2 floods. You can't compare events because small changes, 20 or 30 miles in any direction, could mean an inch of rain or no rain, or feet of rain. It could mean no storm surge or negative storm surge.
Right.
Or 12, 15 feet of storm surge. Small changes make a big difference, and that's why I'm going to really push for more probabilistic information, the science behind the worst case scenario, because you can't, when you look at risk and the business we're in of doing the forecast, I think we got to get away from deterministic a little bit. I think we need to get a much better at a probabilistic solution, and that's not saying there's a 30% chance of that, and that's what I'm talking about here.
No.
I'm talking about, what if I told you there's only a 10% chance of that value that I just gave you being exceeded? Whoa.
That's a different way of looking at it.
Interesting, and there's science behind that, so we're going to be pushing that as well.
Our consumers are the people of America, and you're the National Weather Service, we're WeatherNation, we're covering the entire nation, and our goal really is the same, to protect people, protect property.
Look what's happening. It's been busy. I mean, everything from fires to heat to hurricanes to floods, it goes on. So it's no longer these different entities doing these things. We've got to be a big partner in all this.
The partnership continues. Join us next time as Ken talks technology.
This thing's a fast computer. I mean, 49 and 50th fastest computer on Earth type of thing.
And how the National Weather Service is working to reach everyone on their level. Stay tuned to WeatherNation to hear the stories from those making waves in weather on the next Weather Headliners.